I'm Bonnie. Welcome to Tarot with Bonnie and Peter, where we take the mystery out of the tarot and help you bring this ancient practice into everyday life. In this podcast, we'll talk about life, tarot, and everything in between. So grab your tarot deck, get comfortable, and start your journey to tarot with Bonnie and Peter. Welcome to Tarot with Bonnie and Peter. I'm Bonnie, and today we are prepping for Sagittarius season. So that's coming up in, I don't know, Peter, what did you say, like a week or so?
Yeah, I think it's probably 10 days, a little less. Yeah, about a week from where we are now.
Okay, great. So we thought we'd give you some time to get ready for Sagittarius season. So we're going to, Peter's going to give us a little brief overview of Sagittarius season, some of the cards that go along with the energy of Sagittarius through the lens of tarot. And then we're going to pull some cards to sort of help us get through the season. So Sagittarius season really coincides with prepping for holidays. So we're sort of now at the beginning stages of getting ready for holiday season. That could be, Thanksgiving, like American Thanksgiving. We've already had Thanksgiving in Canada. So we get a bit of a break between Thanksgiving and Christmas. So now we're starting to ramp up for that, if, that's the holiday that you're celebrating. But sometimes that season can be really overwhelming. And we're hoping that with some of the cards that we're going to pull today, with using some of the prompts, might help you sort of get through the season with a little bit more, maybe joy, a little bit more presence. I find that the season gets really chaotic and really busy, and life is really busy anyways. And adding this on top of that, it can just go to a completely different level. So we're hoping that today we can sort of lighten some of that load for you, give you some insights, and see where the cards take us. So hi, Peter. How are you today?
Good. I'm good, Bonnie. It's I love how you talk about that, right? See where the cards take us, because I always think, the cards. And the last couple of episodes, we've looked at the link between kind of the astrology, or the cycles of the sort of 12 signs and the cards that go with them. And I always think they tell a story, because you talked about how busy sort of Sag season can be for people as they ramp up for holiday season. Either, it gets right into holiday season, or it leads up to holiday season. And the two major arcana cards that are linked to Sagittarius season are Temperance, which is the card linked to Sagittarius, and then the Wheel of Fortune, which is the card linked to Jupiter, who is the ruler of Sag. So I always think, that idea of, life is just going to come at us, and we've sort of got to move and shape with the times. It's very much a Wheel of Fortune energy. And then, how do we respond to that? Well, we've got Temperance sitting there kind of saying, okay, look, let's take everything in stride. Let's recognize the idea of moderation. Let's actively temper our energy. Let's try and, take things that might not be, as solid or as structured, and let's make solid structure out of them. I think of because there's always cards of the minor arcana that are linked to a season as well. And for people who are listening and curious, when I talk about the links, I talk about them through the system of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. So, there are a variety of different, connections, esoteric connections to the tarot, and the system I like to follow, and probably the one that is most common for people, is the one through the Golden Dawn. But the three minor arcana cards are the 8, 9, and 10 of Wands. So when you talk about the idea of, oh my goodness, all this rush before the holiday season, like, what better card to show that than the 8 of Wands? And then, I always think that the 8, 9, and 10 of Wands is almost the narrative of shopping, of holiday shopping. It's like, okay, I'm going to run in and get as many things as I can. And then you're standing there with the 9 of Wands, like as if you've been through a war. You've got your parcels sitting in front of you, and your pockets are all turned inside out, and, your hair's whichever way. And, you look like you've gone through the ringer. And you've almost had to battle through this holiday season. And of course, the 10 of Wands being that warning saying, hold on. look, there's going to be a lot of stuff coming at you, and be careful, because if you take on too much, you're going to lose your focus on what's important. You're going to be, carrying not only your load, but the load of other people. So I always love that. Like I've always said that the tarot is very much a story-based tool, and the Sagittarius story through like Temperance, the Wheel, and then the 8, 9, and 10 of Wands really does tell an interesting, appropriate, seasonal story. So, yeah.
Yeah. Like you could even just lay out those 5 cards, and that really is the season that we're coming up to. And there's so much wisdom in those cards that can really help us step into this energy, right? Like, and we'll probably talk about this as we pull cards, and it'll be interesting to see what comes up when we pull them. But yeah, it's like, sometimes we lose sight of what's really important. And I think that's really the energy of that 10, right? Like we're carrying so much.
Correct.
And that really gives us an opportunity to pause and be like, do I really have to carry all this stuff? And as we, and I think from when we were kids to where we are now, like this season has exploded even more, right? Like it's so materialistic. There's so many expectations there, right? And it's like, what are we really celebrating? So yeah, I think this is going to be really interesting. And I love how you say that it's really telling a story, and it absolutely is. So, yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, so am I. And I'll do, it'd be a good spot for me to do a bit of a shameless plug as well. So that narrative style and the idea of looking at the cards through the zodiac is of interest. I do a monthly, I call it the cards of the zodiac. So I started with Cancer, and I explain why I did the cards of Cancer when I do, but we're coming up on the cards of Sagittarius. And this is literally what we do. We go through the meanings of the cards through that narrative style of all the cards. It's not just these 5, but some of the court cards and the seasonal cards as well. And then we work through them in the same way that Bonnie and I are now, through either prompts that help us with, simple spreads, or even there are times when, there's a bit of astrological timing that happens. And then, I create what I call a power spread that links the tarot energy and the astrological energy. So if that's of interest to you, I'll put the link in the show notes. Go on and take a look. Like I said, the price point is, I always think it's low. It's like $23 Canadian.
It's too low, Peter.
Right? Look, I think it's low. Everybody has their own kind of reality. It suits me just fine. But I always think, it's for American listeners that it might be $18. It's probably less than $20. It's certainly, less than, a coffee at your favorite coffee house. 1 coffee a week, it would be less than that. But by all means, check it out. If that's of interest to you, like I said, I'll put the links in, and I'll do, shameless self-promotion done. And now we'll take a look at those questions, because Bonnie, you put together a couple of prompts, and you always say, I don't know an awful lot about the astrology, but you put some beautiful prompts that blend the tarot cards and that kind of that Sagittarius energy. So
thanks, Peter. I understand the tarot. So when you help me link the astrology to the tarot, then I'm like, oh, the light bulb goes off. So I can speak through that lens. I don't know all of the nuances with the astrology, but yeah, Temperance. I have Temperance. Temperance is always sitting out for me. That's a card that I need to learn how to embody that energy on a regular basis. So I think that's going to be even more prominent for me in this upcoming season. And I love how Jupiter is linked to the Wheel of Fortune. I don't really know much about the planets and what their energy is, but like I said, I understand that through the lens of tarot. And yeah, I think this is a really great time. Like when I think of the Wheel of Fortune, I think about like letting go of control, right? Like the wheel wants to spin and turn. And sometimes in this season, we get so caught up on trying to control every single tiny little detail that maybe we miss that flow that just wants to come. So so I'm looking forward to this. So how do we want to do this then? Do you want me to start with my questions? Do you want to start with her questions?
No, go ahead. I just wanted to, because you... And this is where you talk about the idea of temperance and the card and how important it is to you. And I think we forget, because the Temperance, I won't say it has a softness to it, but it does have, it has a balance to it, right? That's, like we talk about that idea of moderation, but we forget like the element that is associated to Sagittarius, it's a fire sign, right? So, Temperance, as much as it is about, being, almost open to change, that we forget that the other side of that is it's a card of energy and forward movement and initiative and passion and transformation. It's all those things that are fire linked as well, yeah. So I always think that astrological link really does go deeply with this card. And I remind people, especially when this card shows up in client work, that Temperance is a fire card. Like it is a card that is a card of action. It's not, people say, well, it's a card of moderation. Well, it is, but it's active moderation. It's active moderation. It is choosing to balance between two or more things, right? It's making that active choice, which we're going to help, we hope, with some prompts that we will use the tarot to be able to address. So, this is talk about creating your own tarot spread. This is the way to do it. Take a couple of energetic points from either the astrology or the tarot of the season and ask yourself some questions like we're going to do now. So have you got a deck? You've got a deck ready?
I do. I'm going to use the Muse Tarot by Chris Ann.
Ooh. Have we brought this one out before in the podcast? I know we've had her other deck many, many, many times.
Yeah. I may have you. I don't know. I do love the Muse Tarot. So I was drawn to work with this one today, but we'll see what comes out. So
okay. Well, the deck I'm dropping all over the place here as I'm trying to shuffle it. And I took it because because of the season we're looking at, but I'm also looking out the window, and we actually have a little bit of snow here where Bonnie and I live. So I thought, you know what? The Winter Season Tarot by Danielle Norman is what I'm using, who will be a guest on a future episode of our podcast. Yay! So I've confirmed with her, we're just going to work up probably in the new year. So sometimes in 2026, expect to see her on here talking about her deck creations. I talked a lot about the Winter Season Tarot, but that's not the only deck, that she's created. So that's what I'm using. I thought snow on the ground, Sagittarius season, which, really is, it's not the start of the winter season. It's really end of the autumn season for us. But if we're likely to see some snow during Sag season here. So.
Oh yeah, we got quite the snowfall a few days ago. So
we're still in Scorpio season here. So that's like it
was an early snowfall for us.
We got an early hit here.
Yep.
All right.
Okay, so the two questions that I'm going to pose to the tarot today really have this. I was kind of using Temperance as my inspiration. And I think I love how you talk about that fiery energy within Temperance, because we think about Temperance as this idea of balance, but it's also how do I want to say it? It's like transforming energy. It's alchemy, right? It's like one thing, like, when we think about Temperance, in that normal sort of traditional sense, it's like the angel is pouring something from one cup into another cup, and that's sort of transforming. So that's where we can bring in that fiery energy. Is like, what is it that you want to transform? And sometimes we get stuck, right? Like I think about Temperance too as like walking that middle road, like it is moderation, but it's also alchemy. And it's also, because there's that beautiful angel on the card, I also think of Temperance as this idea of like a spiritual connection. Like we don't have to walk this road alone, right? Like if we're noticing something is out of balance or out of alignment, like there's help around us. So it has so much meaning for me. And I tend to see things very like black and white, 0 to 100. So this is why I have Temperance out all the time. It's like, Bonnie, just like start, right? It's that even idea of perfectionism. If it can't be perfect, I'm not going to do it. Right. So So the questions that I came up with today is what part of me is out of alignment?
Wow.
Because if something is out of alignment, there isn't balance there. And then, what is like sort of that first step towards balance? So I'm seeing what's out of alignment and what can I do to create some more balance if we're looking at temperance sort of in that sense. So Okay, you
All right.
ready?
Are you going to draw one card for each question?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And
We'll
then
go with your cards, and then I'll use my cards for my questions instead of drawing for yours.
Okay, perfect. Okay, I'm shuffling. Okay, so what part of me is out of alignment? So when I say me, okay, I'll read this like from my lens, but of course this could be collectively. Oops. Oh, isn't that funny? We're still in Scorpio season.
We are.
And we're talking about Sagittarius season. But what is out of alignment? Death.
So wow. What a powerful card to get.
Yeah. So I pulled the death card. Okay. So what part of me is out of alignment? And this is very true for me in this stage of my life, is like letting go of things from the past, specifically for me, that I'm still holding on to that don't allow me to move forward. It's funny that I mentioned this earlier, but I'm going to go with that like perfectionist attitude. It's like sometimes we don't want to do something because it has to be perfect. And if we don't just start somewhere, like take messy action, although that gives me like it makes my body cringe when I hear take messy action. But it's like, even I've heard this saying, like, done is better than perfect. Right. So it's like, what are those things that are literally holding you back from being able to create space for something new to come in? So the part of me that's out of alignment is all of these old belief systems, all of these old stories that I'm holding on to that don't actually allow me to move forward. They really keep me stuck where I am. So that's what's out of alignment for me, is this need to let go. And I've talked about this in the past before too, but I need to clean out my closet. My closet is so that it's, again, this idea of like, when we have too much stuff, that could be thoughts, that could actually be physical things. There's no room to bring in anything new. So I have this, like, I'm carrying a lot of stuff, which is funny because we're talking about this idea of like the 10 of Wands, like, what are we carrying? I have so much that I'm carrying that isn't even mine anymore. Energetically, I have so much in my life that I don't need anymore. So it's like, it's time for an emergence. So I really love the energy of that. And I might actually leave that card out for me for a while until I'm actually like, okay, I'm ready. This has to go. So what do you think about that, Peter?
Well, I love it. No, sorry, go ahead. I was
just going to repeat, like, what part of me is out of alignment? Death. Like, what do you have to say about that?
I agree with everything that you said. And I love the fact that you talked about the idea of emergence. And I thought about the image that's actually on that particular card is you have what looks like, that kind of chrysalis or, moth sort of emerging from the head of the person that's there. So that in the Muse deck, Chris Ann really does an interesting job of talking about both death and transformation in the same card. You talked about, I have to empty my closet. And I have said this before. I think of death, most recently, the title I've given the death card is the Great Emptier, because that is what death does. Death takes something that we believe that we have cherished, and it empties the container. So, when you think, that in response to your question and holding back, it is that, take the container and turn it over. It's that reluctance to be able to empty something that needs to be emptied. For you, whether it's the closet, but for anybody who's listening, when a card like this shows up, it's what's holding me back? With a card like death, it's the ability to let something go, to empty it, to leave it behind, to kill it, really. And I don't mean that in a vicious word, but let's talk about what death is. It is to say, okay, this no longer serves me now. I'm not going to leave it, not going to let it kind of hang around a little bit. I'm actually going to cut ties with it, and spoken like a true Scorpio, by the way, but
I know, I love it. And as you were speaking, another word came to me, and I never looked at the death card like this. And now all of a sudden I had this idea, but it's like, this sense of decay. Like, what is decaying inside of me because I keep holding on to these things that I don't need to carry anymore? Like, it's literally, it is physically, but not harming, but like I'm like a part of me is decaying because
rotting.
I can't let go.
Yeah.
It's rotting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in order to stop that, like, let that thing go because it's just going to keep going and it's going to,
And it's recognizing that is a cycle, though, right? That things decay, that they rot.
Yes.
And then when they rot, we allow them to just go back. And then, things that decay and rot often also create fertilizer for new things to grow as well. One of the cards, a deck that really does a nice job of that idea of decay is Joanna Powell Colbert's Gaian Tarot deck. The death card in the Gaian Tarot is very much about, it's the corpse of the bird that's decaying on a boat. So that concept of decay it sits, thank you for bringing that up. It really does sit nicely with the death card as well.
And then sometimes when we hold on to things for so long, it creates this point in our life where we're like, oh my God, like not that you've hit rock bottom, but now it's like, okay, this is serious now. Now I have to do something about it. Right. So that's the kind of energy around this. So,
and beautiful things can grow from things that end, right? I think of anybody, myself included, who had, a relationship or a marriage that ended, but that produced children. Like my first marriage ended and it's done and it's dead. But without it, my two children who, are the love of my lives would have never become part of, of anything. So I always think, from things that end, other things can grow and blossom. And, that's like, we sometimes forget that. We think of death as sort of a morbid card, and it is in a lot of ways, but we have to remember that is a process that then allows, other things to move on. So.
Whew, okay.
Here we go.
Deep. I know, right? We're just like, oh yeah, we're gonna ask these questions today and see what comes up. And then it goes.
We should know better. We should know better. We should know better.
Yeah, we should. Okay. What's the first step toward balance? Okay.
If you pull Temperance.
Oh my God. I pulled okay, so another major. I got the Empress.
Oh, wow.
So funny that we're talking about letting go and the Empress is all about abundance. Right? Yeah. So what's the first step back toward abundance? So there's a lot in the Empress card. I see the Empress as this nurturing, energy. If we think about the mother figure, it doesn't have to be about your mother specifically, but that energy of like compassion and nurturing and abundance and life and creation, right? So as, if something for me is out of alignment and I'm holding on to something, I can't create abundance from that place. So my first step towards coming more back into balance is like, what is it that I actually want to create? What is it that I want to nurture? And that could just be myself. Like this could be like this healing journey that I've been on for so long, right? Healing those parts of me that don't want to let go of the old, my old patterns and my old ways of doing things, because who would I be if I wasn't that person anymore? But I can emerge, right? I can emerge as the Empress, because if we believe that we can create anything that we want in our lives, we have the ability to do that. And Empress energy, there's no limit to what she can create. So I think this idea of really being compassionate and nurturing, which is really prominent in my life right now, and things that I'm doing myself and things that I'm helping other people go through as well. It's funny because last week we talked about, I pulled the Ace of Cups, and that was kind of like the heart. And then Empress energy is very similar to that too. It's like this idea of compassion, like really from this place of like love and joy and abundance. So that's where I have to go.
First step towards was balance, right? The question? First step towards balance?
Yeah, the first step back towards balance. Because what's out of alignment is that I'm holding on to, like, I need to let go of certain things. And what's going to bring me back to that is compassion, but also the idea that I can create the life that I want from this place of like new opportunity. But that has to start with like nurturing and compassion for the self, right? And believing that that's all possible. Like abundance is all around us. We just have to tap into that energy. So, so thank you, Empress. I love the Empress.
Oh, it's beautiful, beautiful card, right? Beautiful card. I have a crush on more than one Empress and more than one deck.
Yeah, Empresses are really beautiful. What would you say about that, Peter?
Again, right? I'd repeat a lot of the things that you said. I'd probably, just to take a different slant, I'd look at the astrological connection and talk about Venus. So I love that you talked about love, and the idea of, of kindness and compassion, but often self-directed as well. But, to kind of focus on the question, the idea of, what are the first steps towards balance in that card of, of letting go, the first card that we drew was death. Once that happens, once we've emptied stuff and we've let it go and we've cut it out, then the Empress might also be there to remind us, then stop and take a look around you and recognize the abundance that still exists, right? The idea that the fertile ground for things to grow that is still there. You haven't cut everything out of your life. You've cut the things that no longer serve you. And then to take that first step with, with love and compassion, with empathy, with all the things that kind of Venus brings to the table. So that's it. Other than that, I thought you said it beautifully anyways, but that's all I would add. And then I'd say ditto to all the other things. So.
And I think too, like we can look at these cards together, right? So if I'm out of alignment or anybody that's listening,
that's two big cards.
Those
right?
are two big. Yeah, this is a powerful reading. It's like if I'm out of alignment and I need to let go of something, and my first step back to creating more balance is like love and compassion. How can I meet that part of me that's afraid to let that go with love and compassion? Right? It's like using that Empress energy to help me actually, balance where I am out of alignment. So, yeah, Tarot, I love you. I love all the insights. It's just, and it's everyday stuff. This isn't like, this isn't so way out there, right?
Yes, that Tarot, I empress you. I empress you. I love you. Yeah, that's great. I love that. There were two great questions, and the cards that came up too. And you get like two major arcana cards. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. All right. Shuffling up. I always look at the bottoms. I always want to make sure that it's upright. I don't know why. It doesn't matter because I can always, turn them over. So my questions, I focused a little bit on the astrology and a little bit on the cards of the minor arcana. So I asked, where do I need to expand and where am I at risk of overgiving? So I thought about the idea of expansion that really does sit with both Jupiter as kind of the ruler of Sagittarius, but also with that Eight of Wands energy, which is the card that's linked to the first sort of 10 days or 10 degrees of Sagittarius season. I thought of the idea of expansion and movement. And then with the second one, where am I at risk of overgiving? I almost thought of maybe a little bit of the shadow side of sort of Sagittarius / Jupiter, and that concept of being just too expansive, but also in that idea of the I guess the spirit of the season and the 10 of Wands, right? The 10 of Wands is very much about overdoing something. So that's sort of where I came up with those two questions. So let's channel that first one first. So where do I need to expand? I need to expand my ability to shuffle. It's so funny, I always think at this time about the creation of shuffle music, but when you were going, here I am, I'm going to shuffle. I thought of the movie Elf right away. Okay,
yes.
Here I am. Okay, I'll do it. What they call it, like an elfgram or a Santagram or whatever. He's like, okay, you're my dad, and I love you, and I came all the way from the North Pole. No, all right.
Yeah, a holiday movie season is here, so we're gonna have to bust out Elf.
Holiday movie, Elf. Okay, where do I need to expand? Right. So what do you do when you get a card like the 10 of Cups in a question of where do I need to expand? That's like it's so interesting, and in Danielle Norman's here, contains a lot of the same idea that you would see in the Rider-Waite. There's the what looks like a content sort of, family experience, a beautiful winter home. It even has the rainbow shining, onto the home in a lovely winter scene. And, it's like, when I get something like this, what do I need to expand? I think about the 10, and I think about, 10 of cups and we talked about this before, 9s are that idea of completeness. 10 is that idea of almost preparing for something else. So if I was like, well, what do I need to expand? Then I need to look within myself and see what are all those what are all the cup things that I have, and how can I expand that? How can I send that out into the world? How can I share that? How can I make my point of view a point of view of love, a point of view of intuition, of compassion, the things that would be like would reside inside the cups. Do you know what I mean? So I always think, the question of expansion, that question of swift movement, the idea of Jupiter, if I'm expanding the things that sit inside the 10 of cups, to me, the 10 of cups is already a card that says, I have an abundance of those things, and where can I do that? So a practical example of where might I expand might be, who needs a piece of my love during this season? So I think of things like, where might I be able to go and provide, loving time? I think of things like working or helping out by providing either time or resources to a food bank, to a shelter, where, we're taking that idea of compassion, of love, of cups kind of energy and sending it out there. I think when I see a card like this, that's kind of what I go. What about you? 10 of cups in the, where do I need to expand?
Peter, I just want to pause and thank you for bringing that energy of generosity with that card. I think that's so beautiful, especially again during this time. So
that was the word I was looking for. I couldn't get it. Generosity. I was like, a beautiful cups word. Thank you. Couldn't for the life of me. I can speak 2 languages fluently. Couldn't find that one.
That's okay. That's what we're here for. We're here to help each other. But I do love that. And that definitely, that energy is really, significant. That's not the right word.
That's prominent in that card, right?
Thank you. Yeah. We're finishing each other's sentences now. I love that. Okay. So yes. So it's funny, in my own personal reading this morning, I also pulled the 10 of Cups. And I love that card. And it really is, when I see the 10 of Cup, like everything that you said, of course, but it really helps me, again, to pause and be like, let's look at the present moment, right? Because there's that rainbow in the card. And it's always like, when there's a rainbow, you're like, like everything else stops and you look at the rainbow and you're not really focused on anything else other than like this magnificent rainbow that's very fleeting. Like we don't see rainbows all the time. So I think that idea of like really embracing the present moment. But you said this earlier too with the Empress card, is this idea of like gratitude and abundance. Like I see that card of like, let's take inventory of what's already here. Like that card is a card of celebration of like love and sharing, whether that's family or friends or community, whatever that happens to be. But it really is this outpouring of like so much love and joy. So how can we really embody that energy in all aspects of our life, right? And that could really be just looking around and being like, I am so thankful for all the beautiful things. Or, I'm so thankful that I have the opportunity to like look outside and see that beautiful tree, right? So it's like sort of all of that. And also our intuition, right? Like, how can I expand and like open up to my intuition more as well? So beautiful. I think that's an amazing card to pull for like, because the question was like, where can I expand, right? Like, I think, really being in the present moment, being really generous, like you said, and just the sheer love and enjoyment of those people in your life, and how can you spend time with them, right? And appreciate that. So,
yeah. And others as well, when you talk about the idea of generosity, especially as we kind of enter a holiday season, this isn't the 10 of Pentacles, right? This is not necessarily about the generosity of resources. This is about the generosity of heart. This is about the generosity of water. It's about the generosity of cups, and yeah, in a lot of ways, that loving spirit, that's what this is. This is about, looking inside us and having an overabundance of it. And then, how can we expand? How can we get it out there? So yeah, it is. What a beautiful card. All right. Guess I have to go into the other question then. Where am I at risk of overgiving? I'm going to do a reshuffle. I'm not going to put the 10 of Cups back in. I thought, I'll put it back in. What if it shows up again? But if it shows up again, it's because, I'm a shitty shuffler. That's why. All right. Where am I at risk of overgiving? Huh. God. The 9 of Wands. Let's draw out a Sagittarius card when we ask questions during Sagittarius season. Interestingly enough, the card that comes right after it was the inspiration for the question. So this card, and I love the portrayal of this card because it is a card of, completion, but it is completion of what could feel like a monumentally difficult task. What does Danielle Norman show here? Shoveling a bloody driveway, right? For those of us who live, in this kind of northern clime, we know what this is, right? There's nothing worse than looking outside and seeing, 15, 20, 25, 30 centimeters of snow or more and going, oh my goodness, I have to go out there and I have to get it done. But there is a sense of accomplishment and completeness that comes from doing that hard work, right? This is the I'm Still Standing card. If you're thinking of, of the Elton John song, that's what this is. So, where am I at risk of overgiving? In some ways, this card in this position almost reflects the energy of the 10 of Wands. It almost says, there are battles to be won here. There are tasks that need to be done. This is a busy time of year. Get the things done that you need to get done. Some stuff has to be completed, and you're going to be okay. When you get it done, you're going to be okay. You're going to feel like you've been, you've gone through the ringer, but you're going to be fine. Be careful though, where the risk is. Be careful of giving too much of yourself. This might be a time where you're like, okay, I need to shovel my own driveway, but do I also have to shovel the driveway of all my neighbors around me? Maybe. If I have the energy to do that, I may be able to do that. And that might kind of go with that 10 of Cups, generosity, spirit of expansion, but recognize that those choices, the choices of doing hard tasks for other people, come at a cost. So just be prepared to pay that cost as well. The 9 of Wands is very much about that card too. It's like, there was a cost to pay for the work that you did. Just know that going in, know that going in. So have some discretion around the difficult tasks that you're going to take on during this particular season. And again, I love the analogy of the shoveling the driveway. So, know you have to shovel your own. Save the energy to have to shovel your own. And if you decide you want to shovel somebody else's, no problems, but recognize that you're going to need more energy to be able to do that, and make sure that you keep some stuff in the tank, to be able to get that done.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about that? The question of, where am I at risk of overgiving? It's like, and the 9 of Wands. Again, as you said, you can't make this stuff up. I can't make this stuff up.
I know. I was like, oh, he's going to pull the 10 of Wands, but you pulled the 9. So that's it's right in that wheelhouse. Yeah, that's an interesting card about where am I overgiving. I love what you said, and I agree with everything that you said. But I think about that card as like determination and will. And it's like what you said, you're almost there. You're almost at the finish line. This isn't the time to give up, right? Like, it's kind of like, so if I'm going to, and I know Wands is about like those things we're passionate about. It's not so much about like the thoughts, because it's not swords, but it's also this idea of like, you don't want to give up on what it is that you want to do. Like, if that makes sense, right? Like, sometimes we're so close to the end of something that we're really passionate about. And then if we're like maybe trying to manifest something or whatever, we're like, oh, it's not here yet, I'm just going to give up. Right. So it's like, you don't want to give into that. Like, does that make sense? What I'm trying to say? It's kind of a little interesting take on that, but yeah, don't give in to the idea that you have to give up right away. But at the same time, it's like, because we're talking about the season and like expansion and everything is really busy right now, it's like you're almost at the finish line to do what it is that you have to do. You don't have to take on more, right? That kind of idea. Yeah. So it's like, you're almost there. You're at the finish line. Don't give up now. You've already gone through all of this. Finish what you came here to finish, but don't give in to those thoughts of like, oh, I'm just going to give up because it's too hard. And then don't be like, I got to do more, or now I got to start something else because I'm giving up on this thing. I don't know if that makes sense.
So you're talking about seeing, like, make sure you see something to the end, because you're like, the finish line is pretty much there.
Yeah. Yeah. This isn't like, it's like, it's not about doing more, but it's also about not giving up on what it is that you've already been doing. Yeah. And it's not about, like, sometimes we just keep taking on more, which doesn't help us to finish what it is that we're already working on, right? It's kind of like we start all these projects and then we never finish something. What is that thing that you're working on that you're almost completing, but there could be something about you that's saying, like, just stop doing it. Like, don't give in to that. Finish what you're doing, but don't start something else or take on more that's going to prevent you from seeing that through.
Yeah. Well, that's beautiful. And what great cards, like all 4 questions, really well linked to, and we talk about the idea of the holiday season coming up, but well linked to Sagittarius season and, the holiday season. The questions were great and the cards that came up, like, And we both, you had 2 major arcana cards, I had 2 minor arcana cards, but, like, it's not like the 10 of Cups and the Knight of Wands are not kind of heavy hitting cards either, right? So it's some power today. It's some power cards today. Woo!
Yeah. Like, this is great insight. And I can see this in my own personal journey of, everything that we've talked about. I see myself in these cards. So yeah, it's really great for me. I think this whole podcast is very healing for me. If I'm going to be honest.
It's funny because when we do that, we draw cards, I always think, we're doing it as a kind of a, we've said an exercise of learning, and we always invite people, look, if these 4 questions resonate with you, draw some cards on them, put comments, let us know how it goes. But I also find when we're going through the podcast episode, it's almost like a personal reading. And we've actually had some listeners comment about that and said, I feel like I'm getting a personal reading when you draw the cards. And it's amazing how powerful and personal the connection that the tarot can make, and how we can see ourselves in the cards almost all the time. It's like, oh yeah, this was a general reading. It's one of the reasons why I have great appreciation for people who do, those readings for the collective. But I sometimes think, we don't need a collective reading. Actually, we can draw our own conclusions based on a reading that someone does. It's like, as opposed to a reading for the collective would be, well, here's a reading for you being the 5, 10, 100,000 people who might be listening, to the reading. So for those of you that are reading, we offer these to you. If you connect to them, then, then great. That's, Death card, the Empress, and the 10 of Cups, and the 9 of Wands, right? That's, hopefully you see yourself in there. So there you go. There's Sag season and holiday season.
I love it. I went somewhere yesterday with my daughter and I heard the first Christmas carols. I was like, oh, so that makes me so happy. I love Christmas carols.
I know. Look, I do too. Having, kind of, yeah, I do as well. I love them. I'm a big fan of Michael Bublé's version of, a lot of Christmas carols, another Canadian as well, right? Show my softer side, but it's a lot of good stuff out there. A lot of good stuff out there. So, all right.
Awesome. Okay, Peter, where can everybody find you?
Well, I had mentioned, the cards of Sagittarius earlier, so I won't, talk an awful lot. Always at, tarotwithbonnieandpeter.com. Great place to get caught up on your episodes, but also a great place to kind of follow the links to, both of our respective websites. PeterWhiteTarot.com is my website. You can go and check out my courses, mentoring, tarot sessions if that's what you're interested in. My socials, so primarily Instagram, Facebook. I'm not there very much, but I'm there from time to time. Also Peter White Tarot. So that's where you can find me. So what about you? Where can people find you?
Thanks, Peter. And check out Peter's Cards of the Zodiac.
Yes. Well, yeah, I mentioned them cards. Yeah, cards of Scorpio. We're still in Scorpio season. They stop becoming available sort of as we sort of exit the season because they really are sort of quite specific, but the intent was to do a 78 card journey through the tarot, but to do it through the lens of astrology. So by the end of these 12 cards, it will be, well, my goodness, it'll be like an 18-hour journey through the 78 cards of the tarot through the lens of the 12 signs of the zodiac. So it's
amazing.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I love it. I love it. The next one will probably be live, right around the time that this podcast episode is live, but you can always catch the recordings too. They're always available. So
awesome.
So thank you for that. So, what about you?
No problem.
Come on now.
Okay. Yes, you can find me at tarotwithbonnieandpeter.com. You can find out a little bit about me there, and then you can click the link, and then it goes to my personal website, which is breathewithbonnie.com. I would invite you to sign up for my newsletter. If you're on my newsletter list, you'll be the first to know about any stuff that I have going on. There are things that I'm working on that I haven't. Yes. I've been very quiet in sending anything out because I've been really focused on sort of the certification that I'm doing right now. So that's coming to a close soon. And there's going to be a lot of new offerings coming from that. So definitely, if you want to be the first to know, sign up for my newsletter, and I will definitely communicate any new courses, any new services or offerings that I have coming up. But you can go to my website now and check out what I have there. And let me know how I can help you.
Yes. And speaking of, I certainly, it's not mine to give away, but I can speak personally based on this new certification, having experienced a session, with you just a few days prior to recording this. And all I'll say is, wow. And for those of you that are interested in the kind of work that Bonnie is certifying in, then once she releases that, without giving too much away, I would say you'd be blown away. Do you like how I did that? Blown away.
Oh, I like that.
So it was fantastic. I'm still thinking about it, and it still resonates with me. So very powerful.
Thank you, Peter. I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, see, all the love we were talking about too. We had cards of love. We had cards of death. We'd love to hear from you. Our loyal listeners and watchers on what you like, what you didn't, what you'd like to hear and see in future episodes. Engage in this episode if you drew some of the cards, and what do they mean for you? Please, by all means, any kind of engagement, any sharing, any liking that you can do really does, help the algorithms get Tarot with Bonnie and Peter out into the ethers, and gets it out in front of people who just might benefit from, our practical kind of daily look at, or I should say, our look at tarot in our daily lives. So, for that, I want to thank you for sticking around until the end. And we will see you next time on Tarot with Bonnie and Peter. Bye for now.
Bye.